Alright, what's up, Wargamers? We're back, Champions of War, going over some Kruleboyz deployment and movement analysis. Coming up to CanCon, tournament's around the corner, it's next week for me. These are some things that I'm running over in my head, what I'm thinking about, what I'm trying to execute with my list, and what I really want to be focusing on and honing in on as a Kruleboyz player. So first things first, what we want to get into is how are we going to set up our screens? How are we going to set up in deployment? What's our deployment going to look like? What order are we putting things down? What's going to work out the best for us, and why we're going to do that? So you can see here I have my Hobgrots in the front, 3 inches behind them the Gut Rippers, 6 inches behind them the Bolt Boys. And obviously you can sprinkle in your Sludge Raker in the middle to catch everyone. Maybe you have another unit of Monster Killers on the flank, another unit of maybe your Gobsprak on one side to covering your flanks. But this is generally the idea, and I just want to give you the gist and the rundown to why we set up this way and why we want to be in this situation. This type of setup and this type of screening is beautiful for grinning blades. Okay, it really helps us out. It's a game of inches and how we want to play. And the reason why we have the Hobgrots 3 inches in front of our Gut Rippers is so that way. And then we have the Bolt Boys 6 inches behind the Gut Rippers. So if you add this together, that's 3 plus 6, that's 9 inches. Then you've probably got around 2 inches when you spread out your Gut Rippers. You've got about another 2 inches there, so that's about 11. And then your Hobgrots, you say about another inch there as well. Okay, so it gives you a bit of room. So that's 12 inches in total from the front of this screen to the back here. Okay, to where your Bolt Boys are. The reason why, I should actually have my mouse here. So from the front here, from here, all the way down to here, we want about a 12-inch gap, 11.5-inch gap. That's nice for us, okay? Because what that means is that way, if anything ever charges into our screens, we've got our move up and double shoot quite comfortably, very easily done. Would barely have to move them. Another reason why we have them that 12-inch mark is grinning blades. If anyone ever does move up, they can't shoot our Bolt Boys, okay? And this is fantastic against alpha striking armies, armies who want to deep strike and shoot. I've noticed that if I'm screening correctly like this, it is impossible for them to ever shoot anything other than my Hobgrots or a Gut Ripper line, okay? Which are my trash units. They're not good in combat. They die very easily. If they do happen to get shot out, so be it. But in order for them to alpha strike up or move up and shoot, puts them out of position. And the reason why we do this 12 inches is because, well, what we want to do is we ideally want them to force them to move within either our 24-inch bubble of our Bolt Boys to do so, or they move within 17 for our move and shoot range. Okay, so this is very important, having a setup like this. All right, and it's something that's very easily forgotten, and I'll just quickly go into just showing you an example of what I would do in deployment, and this would be a great way to start. So generally you can just literally, we always want to be deploying in the middle of the map area. Okay, this is Geomantic Pulse. It's one that's very common, and I think you're going to see it in just about every tournament. We'll take at least a map of Geomantic Pulse somewhere along the line, where you've got these really small deployments, you're far away from each other. What we're going to do here is my first drop, and I've trialed this a little bit, and I think the first drop and the best drop to do is your Shaman. Pop him in the back, okay, have him right in the back over here, and you pop one down. Have them have one drop, okay, see where he's putting his units, see where that drops. Second unit comes down, okay, we can get our second Shaman out. Alright, because this is a 4-drop list. Mine one is running Andorian Acolytes. You could turn this into a 2-drop if you really want to push for that, but I'm finding Acolytes is nicer. Now this second Shaman, I might even be slightly more aggressive with it. I might put him in cover, so that way he can't be shot, but I can even sneak him right up in here if I want to. But I'm also going to be thinking, okay, where would I want my Bolt Boys to be sitting here? Okay, so before I even put this second Shaman down, I'm looking at the terrain, okay? Let's see where my terrain is. We've got a nice big center block of terrain in the middle here. We've got hardly a terrain feature here, and we got this annoying terrain feature here which can block line of sight and shooting. So we always got to remember that if we're going to put our Bolt Boys here and here, well, this little area here can be quite easily abused as a weak spot for us if an enemy were to go there. So how do we overcome this? How do we overcome this little weak spot here, especially if they take turn 1 and can get right up in here? Okay, we need to make sure that we're fighting around this, making it hard for them to do anything around this, and we can either say let's completely ignore it, or we deploy into it. Now because this is so far left, okay, the way the map is and the way Geomagnetic Pulse is, we do need to set up in the middle because we're a slow moving army, and if we don't get if we don't get turn 2 and we want to double turn 2, or they get to decide where the pulse goes, they could really screw us over if we start deploying in this corner here. He can just activate this one, and it's going to take us it's going to be impossible for us to pretty much walk down all the way here. So in my mind, I'd be going, okay, this is a rough deployment. You're going to see this very often. It's a bit annoying that you've got such a big wall here. That's really going to be hard for Bolt Boys to ever shoot over. But you want to be looking and go, okay, if I were to put Bolt Boys here, I can get line of sight of this whole area, right? But everything over here is going to be pretty much impossible to shoot. So if anything were to drop there, it's going to be very annoying, okay? So what my thought process would be here is plonk down the shaman in the corner here, right? So that way it's going to be hard for him to get shot at. I might even go like this, so that way if I want to put my second unit of Bolt Boys here, I can do that. And then that way, if anything ever does come over here, I've got my Blizzard set up with my shaman, okay? So I've got Blizzard going all the way out to here, all the way out to here, and all the way out to here. So that's zoning off this area. If anything ever comes here to try and abuse that, I can just go, here's Blizzard, and I can do something to you, okay? And because we've got the cover now, he's not visible to anything that tries to deploy over here, but we can still Blizzard it, okay? Well, I mean, we can always set up for the Blizzard if we need to, okay? So that's one good thing to mention there. So we set up like this. That'll be my second drop. You see where their other drops are going. Okay, maybe he's deploying this side heavily or that side heavily. Is he an Alpha Strike army? Is he not? Then my third drop, generally, I mean, you want to be giving as little information as possible, something that's going to allow you to obviously have pre-game moves to be deploying first rather than anything. So we can plonk down our Sludge Raker somewhere where we think it's going to be of value. And now we know that the Bolt Boys are probably going to be somewhere here, and Bolt Boys are going to be somewhere here. Maybe we'll want our Bolt Boys a little bit further up around here, but we still need it within that 3-inch mark, so just have a mental note. Okay, 3 inches is to that line, so we need at least one Bolt Boy touching that line there. Okay, so this little area is probably going to be our sweet spot, and then we're going to have screens and screens coming up this way, so that would go there. I would get 1 unit of Hobgrots, and I would screen out just like so. Alright, we'll go 3 that way, go like this, go like something like that, go something like that, go something like that, and then these 3 can move up in coherency, and then we just spread out. Okay, these guys can probably go slightly back a bit more, that way. Alright, and that would be 1 screen, and this I'm setting up in a way so then that way I can take advantage of this whole area. And it depends who I'm versing too, right? Like I really don't want to be versing, like if this is going to be an example, I can go something like this, and you want to go something like that, because you don't want anything piling in around that first screen. Okay. These guys can go like that, and then these 3 can come down like so. Okay, so that's blocked off. Nothing can pile in through here. Okay, you're going to be bringing both of these into combat. Maybe something can kill both of them, but the idea is to absorb a hit if it takes it. It's only 80 points. All right. Now this third unit of Hobgrots, do I want to block this area off? I think so. If it's an Alpha Strike army, I don't want anything coming within this area. I want it to be quite blocked off and hard for them to get in. So we're just going to set up a line here. You probably don't even need to spread these out because you've got the terrain here, which makes it quite awkward for people to come. Well, you're not going to really, unless you've got flying, can't really do much with that. So it gives us the opportunity to auto run them. We can move them up 11 inches or so, say 10, and then spread them out, or 10, and then spread them out across 1 inch either way, and we can grab that objective straight away. Okay. And we're defending that line. We can even super sneak one of these if we need to put them in a better position, which is something that we should definitely look out for when we're doing something like this. So that would then be my third drop. This is all one drop right here. The bulk of my army. This is a big chunk of my points. It's around, must be at least 1,000, 1,500 points that's there. Now, by this point, you're probably getting a good indication of where they're deploying, where they're going, what they're doing. They know what we're trying to do. We've kind of spread out this whole corner. We've made it hard for them to get into this area without, drawing something into combat. And now we've got to decide, okay, where do we want our Gobsprak to go? Well, we know where these want to go. Okay. I don't understand why this does this sometimes. So we said we needed 1 on that line. So we could do something a little bit like this and just pile them in base to base. They're within 12 of that Sludge Raker. We can bring these ones in. We're not really trying to hide anything at the moment. Before I put them down, let's set up my screens of Gut Rippers. Now, because we've got such a small deployment, it's hard to do that first 3-inch move, okay? So what we're doing here is 11 inches, 3. We do have to be careful. So these Bold Boys is very situational when I'm putting them, okay? If I knew I could dictate who's taking first turn, and if he did have Alpha Strike with shooting, I would not be putting my Bold Boys here, okay? This is something that would not be going here. If he had any pre-game moves, anything like that, that can move and shoot, teleport and shoot me, well, he can just teleport outside of 9 here and get access to hitting me, because if we go, we're 3 inches behind here, 3.4 behind this front screen, so he could go 9 inches away. Let's say he had a 9-inch teleport, which is just on the edge there. We would just be out, actually. That is not terrible. Okay. We're a good 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches. We want our Bolt Boys to be a minimum of 3 inches behind that front line in case they do have the pre-game move and move outside of 9. At least then we know, well, we got Grinning Blades. He's not going to be able to shoot me unless it is a pre-game move, and then he can also make a normal move. So that's something you've got to be aware of. If he can, then these obviously will be moving back further. But this situation, we're okay. This other group of Bolt Boys, they're going to be plonking up in the middle here as well. Right about there. Okay. If we need to get Super Sneak at some point, we've got this terrain feature to move across to. We can move everything across up this way. So far, I'm liking the way this looks. Okay. This next unit of Gut Rippers, they're going to do something like this, where they're going to be something like that. And they're going to go like that. He's going to drop down. He's going to fill the gap. He's going to drop down. He's going to fill the gap. And just set up like so. Okay. So that way we've filled up that area. That's got 2 laser screens. We've got our Bolt Boys over here. We're nice and clogged up in the middle here. These are my monster killers. And the monster killers in this situation, right, because we've got our Hobgrots in that flank, that's nice. We can either bank them up along this flank as well. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8. So we have to delete 2 because these would be monster killers, for example. And we can just do something like that. Okay. So that way we can move up, take this spot, these guys can move in, punch in a flank, so if we have anything coming here early, these guys start moving across. I think having them in the back here, I don't think is the best. mainly because they're just not going to do much the whole game being in this area. Okay, by the time they get a chance to move up anywhere, it's just going to be too late for them. You can use these to pretty much just deny any teleporting in the back here. You could use them just for that purpose for now. They're 135 points, that's fine with me. Or you have the opportunity to super sneak them somewhere, which is great as well. Okay, so this area, nothing can teleport. All around here, nothing can teleport. And then the Gobsprak, depending, again, do you want him within 30 inches? You know, depending on where their wizards are. Yeah, you can put him in the flank over here. It's a bit open though. In this sort of situation, I would just be putting him right tucked in here as well. Okay. So then you've got plenty of room to work with. You've got your monster killers here. Now be very careful here, because this is where you want your monster killers to be 3 inches behind these hobgrots. Okay. So we've got to be thinking, what are we going to super sneak? In this sort of situation, a super sneak of the monster killers would be fine. We could super sneaky them on this side, but this would be a very weak flank. So in this situation, I'd be considering super sneaking these hobgrots up and around here, stretch them out this way to block off this whole area, and then these gut rippers, then nothing can teleport in this whole region. Nothing can do any bullshit. Okay. So we're going to set them up like that. If we know we're going to be doing that, then okay, we can move the monster killers up even closer, and pre-game move and super sneak forward. We've got our beast killer Skilbo, and I actually like to have it positioned in front of, in here, because I actually will try and use it as a screen as well. Okay, this will be a screen at some point too. But what we want to just triple check is we're more than 3 inches behind. More than 3. So right now these gut rippers are vulnerable to any pre-game moving and shooting. Teleport moving and shooting. Okay. That's the army done. That's our list. That's what we do. We set up like so. And then we can just say, okay, let's super sneak, and maybe we want to take control of this whole area, for example. Alright. Which is quite doable for us. We can go like this, spread, spread, spread them out like that, spread them out like that, and then again we've got now control of this whole area. These monster killers can move up into here freely. If we want to run them, we can run them up, get control of this objective, and we're not too far away from this pulse either with these movements. Okay. And then now we've just gotten control of this whole area, and we've made it way harder for anyone to do any teleporting shenanigans at hitting our bolt boys. No one's going to really be getting in line with us to be doing much, and we've just taken control of this area. Okay, you've got some cheap little hobgrot units over here. This is a weaker flank, so it's something we have to be aware of. Okay, it's hard for us to manage, but we need to get control of this center map. Okay, and we move up into this center map, and what our first goal to be is, because we know everything has a 5-inch move, let's just deselect these, is the first things first is, let me unselect this stuff just so I can do my first movement. And what I'd be wanting to do here is move up 5, minimum 5 inches. That would be our base move right there with our whole army. Okay, for example, and that's without running. Okay, whatever, this terrain feature doesn't like me today. Okay, so now we've moved up. We've now got access to shooting here. Okay, we keep denying this area. Gobsprak can actually just stay back here and help defend this weaker flank. These monster killers, you know, you can run with them, do some fun stuff, however far you move. Okay, you get an extra 4 inches. Alright, sweet, we get an extra 4, so maybe we want to go more into here, right? Get on that objective a bit more, take control of this area a bit more, and then that way, when we're moving, we're going, okay, we've got 24 inches, which is all the way to here from the furthest one. So we're covering these guys. 24 inches sadly doesn't get these guys in. Okay, we won't get the other bolt boys in. So once again, we need to be making sure that we are positioning in a way, so maybe we could have moved them more back this way instead, so that way we're a bit more in our shooting area. Okay, moving up like so, spreading out like so. Everything can run as well if we need to, so ideally we'd want to run with these hobgrots a little bit more up, keeping that 3-inch mark behind. Okay, so then that way it's harder for people to move and shoot inside. So we run and run and move, and you run with these gut rippers up, and you start filling up the areas, okay, and you start getting closer to that ideal setup. Now, because we have such a small deployment, it's pretty much impossible for us to deploy so far back, and the setup that I was talking about, as seen here, because we just don't have 12 inches of deployment, right? We just don't really have it. And if you were to deploy your bolt boys all the way at the back here, I just feel like it's too slow to move them 5 inches up, and then you're only here where you started, and we're just losing movement. Like, we want to be moving up closer towards them, you know. So I actually generally like to auto run these front guys, so I get another 6 inches of movement. So we could go something like this. He follows in, he follows in, he follows in, and then this starts to create, and then these guys would run, obviously. Okay, you get an extra 1 inch. You move 1 inch. Okay, you get the idea. Move, move. So this guy would actually have to be set up. Would have had to be set up like that. He would have had to be set up like that. And you just start spreading out. Okay, spread out. Take as much space as you possibly can, and take up this area. Obviously, ideally, you'd want them more spread out than that, so you're getting more coverage. You would have done that in deployment, but I'm just doing this as an example. And then same thing over here. Run the other hobgrots. Okay, you only got 2. That's unfortunate, but you take it. Okay, 2 inches up. Bang. Right, we run with the other gut rippers. We got another 6 inches, so here we can kind of do whatever we want with these ones. Still keeping that distance. Okay, making sure we're keeping 3 inches behind, so we might need to bring this guy just slightly back. Okay, and maybe with that 2-inch move we probably should have gone more sideways as well to fill up this area. You know, and even these guys, they didn't need to go that far. We could have actually just gone more so. So we're still filling in this area. Okay. This terrain feature does make things a little bit more awkward, but the main goal is to be having that 3 inches in front. Okay. That's the main goal. Okay. So now, if they want to charge in, and let's say they force you to take turn 1 because there's less drops than you, that's fine. So you can see this setup here. It's a lot nicer. Got a bit more freedom. We've got our 2 layers of screens. We're taking up this middle board now. We've got control of a lot of the map. We're in a really good position. We can still move these 2 units. We haven't even moved them yet, but you can see where we're moving to. You can see what you're trying to achieve. Okay, and now we're increasing our shooting range, right? So even from the furthest back one, 24 inches is right on their deployment line. Okay. We do magical dominance because we had one in the very back here. We got a free battle tactic. This next round, we're setting ourselves up for a nice, easy intimidate the invaders. Take that, you suckers. If they're alpha striking in, we can set up for the one where, oh Jesus, escaped my mind now. In and out, lads, I think it is. Where you're within 12 inches of all enemy units. You know, you're setting up nicely for some easy battle tactics. Sneak up, just leave that to the end. It's always nicer. Maybe go intimidate the invaders. You can then go take that, you suckers. You can then go round 4, maybe looking at sneak up. Round 5, setting up for search, surround and destroy to finish that off. You've got heaps of options now. Right, we've just unlocked a whole bunch of stuff. We're nice and far away. We've got it 8 inches. Even if they were outside 3, okay, of this, they move within 3, we're still, well, we're just on that 12-inch line for that one bolt boy. So maybe one of his models that are shooting will be able to shoot at that bolt boy. So it's something that you could always make. You know, you got to be measuring this, and you can see how easily a mistake can be made. But maybe with that 5-inch move, we just move slightly that way. Okay, so you ideally want at least that 8 inches behind, so then that way they're not going to be in range of you when they're outside of 3. Okay, because the model size, we've got 8.7. 8.7, 11.7. So that's why you want them about just over 8 inches behind. So these ones you may have just you may want to pull them back ever so slightly. So that way we're always 8.1 inches behind the very front screen. Always. That's the bare minimum. So then that way nothing can really get within that range of you. Okay? So it's very important when we're moving with our stuff that we're taking that into consideration and we're keeping back. We can just set up deeper like this. Okay. And then we're nice and set up here. Okay, we have made ourselves a bit vulnerable setting this far out. Okay, if we wanted to be a bit more conservative with this side flank, you can always just wrap them. We could have super sneakied like so, right? And then, oh gee, and then the monster killers could have piled in here, and these hobgrots would be like this, okay? And you could have set up like that, and then you got your 5-inch move, turn 1, you know. You obviously spread them out a bit, take up a bit more space, and that could have been another example, right? And then, okay, you've left this area open, right? You've got plenty of room for something to teleport back here. So this is where maybe Gobsprat can then just move his 14 inches this away, and then you can just block off this area. So it can even just go slightly deeper this way, and you just want to measure off 9 inches so nothing can really go into here. And then you got 9 inches. So if somebody wanted to go in, you'd have to go 9 inches up here, okay, and then come down into Gobsprat, and then you got your Blizzard waiting here as well, okay. So this can then this shaman, I would just move into this spot here, 5 inches that way, or you could go up into here if you wanted to, be a bit more aggressive, but you don't want to be losing your shaman too early, so ideally keeping him back in cover. This way he now has visibility through here, in case something were to come here. You can blizzard, you have the shots coming through as well, you can double shot through here. Okay, you've got what, 17 inches to there, so if something does come there you can move and double shoot, and you can kind of lock down this whole area as well. Alright, and this is your stronger flank. So you're kind of saying, I've now got control of the middle of the board, I've got my 2 laser screens set up, I've got my bolt boys in the middle here, I've got my beast killer Q-bow to kill any heroes that come close, and we're in a very, very nice spot. Yeah, so that's just kind of an example of, and the advantage I should say as well, of running 3 units of 10 hobgrots, because you can really piss people off when if they are just a melee based army faction, which, you know, that's kind of meta at the moment. You don't get many people running heavy range anymore. What, they're going to charge in and kill an 80 point screen and threatening to lose, right? You got 17 inches all the way to here, threatening to lose whatever they send in there. So you're trading 80 points for whatever they send in. Okay, you got Gobsprak as well around here. Summon Boggy Mist, Choking Mist to slow things down and make things a bit more awkward and annoying for them. Okay, and you're forcing them to kind of deploy in the front of your screens. Okay, you're creating a bit of a gap on the back here, which is a bit annoying. Okay, it's not ideal. So once again, we could always fix that by saying, okay, maybe we put the monster killers back down here with Gobsprak. Okay, because if this screen dies and they come into here, well, they're hitting your second screen anyway. You know, you can always spread them out to fill that gap in. If that's how the map was, then you just set them up to fill this gap as well. Okay, and you had plenty of movement to do that with just that 1 unit of 10 anyway. Okay, so you fill up that, no matter what, they're going 1 screen, 2 screen, 1 screen, or if they try and avoid that, they're going into the monster killers with Gobsprak there. The blizzard's going to be in range as well next. You know, maybe you put him right on the 3-inch line so he's within range and to do stuff, and you got your bolt boys hitting from here. It is an annoying terrain feature, like I said. People can abuse that and make your life a little bit more difficult if they start to come around this way behind you. Okay, this is annoying. So what we do here is that we just keep moving across this side of the table away from that area, or we keep moving into this heart of the table. So that way we're bringing the fight in the middle of the board. Okay, and this is why it's important for us to take that first punch in the middle of the board and say, well, this is where everything is. If you want to spend 2 or 3 turns getting down and around here and through Gobsprak, through the monster killers, the hobgrots, the Gobsprak, onto the shaman and the bolt boys, that's at least 2 turns worth of combat cycling. Okay, unless they get super lucky and kill everything in 1 turn, but even then it will take a second turn of movement and then unleash hell, and they need a double turn in order just to even have that a possibility to do that. And if Gobsprak lives, then they're double turning, staying in that same spot. Okay, and then you can keep moving up into the board, getting positioning, getting your points, taking the points up. You know, turn 2, I find on this map, if I had a position like this, I give away turn 1, for example. Let's say I have a lower drop, I'd give away turn 1. I might even just take turn 1 myself, to be fair. Mainly because if I can get this set up, guaranteed turn 1, and then say, okay, now you do something, it pretty much just makes everything for them, whatever he wants to do, a lot harder. And because the deployment's so small, we need that breathing space to say, okay, we actually need to set up properly. We need to run the hobgrots up, we need to run the gut rippers up, we need to move the bolt boys up and have a nice positioning and nice movements and ranges, so that way we don't just fall over and die turn 1. Okay, this sort of setup is going to allow us to live till turn 3. We've got blizzards, we've got everything we need. So I hope you guys found that, um, I hope you learned something new from that. I hope you could see where I'm coming from with a setup like this, and then understanding with Geomantic Pulse, the map, how you can pick in objectives, and controlling those objectives, the activated objectives, is huge. The amount of points you can score is massive, and that's why we really need to get the center of the board on a map like this. It's very, very important for a slow moving army, because if you're slow moving and you go from one board side of the board to the other, depending on who gets the second turn, if I were to win the prior roll for turn 2, I'd be giving it away every time. I say, you take it, okay? Okay, gives him a double turn, but it means I get to activate what point, right? And I think me having the choice to activate it is big, but the fact that if we did take turn 1, okay, and we're able to set up in this position, just like so, well, we're equal distance to both objectives now. So we're not stressed about having to give away the second turn to dictate which pulse is activated. So that's where we can actually, if our bolt boys are in a good position and shooting, and we can get a lot of damage done, okay, we take turn 2. Doesn't matter what point you activate. I'm going to kill a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to get control of that point anyway. Okay, that's our goal. That's our mission there. So yeah, this would be a nice deployment setup. Obviously, if they're lower drop and they take first turn, right, and they're trying to jump and get in on you, then obviously keep the bolt boys further back. Maybe try and fight for this type of deployment, right? Okay, if it means that it's going to ruin a turn for you because it's going to take you a lot longer to move up, but it's just you being safe, saying, okay, if you do take turn 1, you're not going to be getting my bolt boys. You have them 8 inches behind, 8.1 inches behind the hobgrots, and then nothing can ever hit them. It's very important. It's very important. Or you could have them a bit closer if they're only alpha striking, right? And they're alpha striking outside 9 of your hobgrots. Well, then you just need to be at least 3.1 inches behind the hobgrots and above, and you're fine. Okay. If they have the potential to move closer than 9 inches in from your hobgrots, that's when you want to be seeing a screening like this set up. Okay. You want the full, like, well, you got 3 inches from the front of them, the front of the hobgrots, because that's how close they can move up to. So let's say they move outside of 3 of the hobgrots. Okay, move outside 3. Then you've got 3 inches behind that, which is another 6 inches. Okay, and then you want another 6 inches behind that to say, well, even if you move outside of 3 of the hobgrots, you're not getting my bolt boys. So if you're 9.1 inches behind with the bolt boys from the hobgrots, they're never getting touched. Keep that in mind. Take advantage of grinning blades and make it so they can only hit your cheap 90-point units, and you get the punch back. Because again, anytime they go to focus the hobgrots, they're trading off whatever unit they've sent to kill the hobgrots with your bolt boys, and you spike, and they're scared of the spike. Don't worry. You with 6 bolt boys with double shots, and you spike for 21 mortal wounds, which can easily happen. 15 mortal wounds, 13, 14, 16, 18. The threat's there. Do they want to make that trade? You can really annoy people with this type of strategy and build. So yeah, that was deployment, the way and in order you want to deploy, your first movement phase, what it can look like, to be setting up appropriately for what you need to do. Okay, you've still got your hero phase move. You're right, you can move in the hero phase with your fasten if you've taken that. Move up, Gobsprack flies in, maybe the monster killers come in, or one unit of gut rippers are in combat. Your Kruleboyz wire as well, and you get as much damage as you possibly can off. The Beast Killer Killbow, if you see one of your flanks dying quicker, You can always move up, move these guys back, move the piece, the kill bow as a screen itself, like so, and maybe you just move these all to the side like this, right? Something like that, for example, to say, okay, I've now got another screen set up here. Or you can even just go deeper in behind it. Depends how you want to go. If they're already in there, yeah, that's what you do. Ideally, you'd want to be a bit further up on the board, right? Because they maybe turn 2 or 3. You might want to be another whole movement phase a bit further up before you're moving backwards. But you can use that as a screen as well. It's a long base. You add the extra 3 inches to either side. It can act as a screen. It's another 80-point cheap unit. Throw it in as a screen. Let it die. Let it do its thing. And hopefully you get lucky and hit something and kill it as well. You might get lucky and do a bunch of mortal wounds or something. You might be versing a Gargant player, and all of a sudden you're doing 12 mortal wounds, 12 damage to it with just an 80-point unit. It's insane. The threat on it is huge. People are scared of it. They don't want to risk losing a 180-point plus unit to an 80-point little kill bow just because you got lucky on the roll. And you get lucky, you're laughing. So yeah, don't forget your spells that you can use. This is, I think, if I were able to set up something like this on this map, I'd be very happy, and I'd be in a confident spot saying, okay, well, I'm in a good position to move to either objective now, and I've got my 2 layers of screen set up. I've got the right distances I need. Okay, if this front unit of Hobgrots dies and they're in combat, this is when you can either charge in the Gut Rippers, okay, charge in the Sludge Raker, get them in combat, kill as much as you can with the double shots and lift up this whole area. And then by doing so, by charging in and charging in and charging in, right, you've then replaced this unit of Hobgrots with the Gut Rippers, and you're still that equal distance back with the the Bolt Boys. So again, making it even harder for them to shoot you onto your Bolt Boys, which then their next target's going to be the Gut Rippers, and maybe your Sludge Raker because you've just charged him in. But by that point, if they're then in that stage and you're able to lift enough stuff, then your next target is, well, if you're going to be shooting that, you're going to be in range of my Bolt Boys no matter what now. And your Bolt Boys tend to just lift any other shooting stuff quite comfortably because you've got that 12-inch advantage with the grinning blades. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you want to hear next. If there's something in particular you've been thinking of, something you've been trying to learn about Kruleboyz, maybe there's something you've been missing, let me know. I'll try help you out as much as I can and maybe even make a video about it. Alright boys, catch you later.